To cap off this incredible, thought-provoking day, a recent graduate of the George Washington University with a Bachelor's of Science in Economics and a minor in Arabic language. While at GW, she was president of the university debate team and competed internationally. She spent 5 months living in Amman, Jordan in 2015, where she worked at a venture capital company focused on small IT startups in the Levant and Gulf regions. Please join me in welcoming Isabel Bejarano.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. All right, so I want to start off with a simple economic axiom. It's called gains from trade. This is how it works. Imagine two people who live entirely isolated of one another, and they each have access to one particular good. This is Marie Curie, and she has all the science books in the entire world. She's the only one who has them. On the other side, this here is Admiral Akbar from Star Wars, and he has all the Star Wars movies and all the memorabilia, but nothing else. Now, both of these people have access to something that's perfectly nice, science and Star Wars, but it's all that they have, so their lives are understandably a little bit tedious. However, if the two of these people, or space monsters, come into contact with one another, an incredible thing happens. If they become aware of one another's existence, they can trade. And by trading, they make one another better off without having created any new product in the world. So these two people have swapped, and Marie has given Admiral Akbar a couple of science textbooks, maybe to help him with his spaceships that he knows all about but doesn't know how they work. And Admiral Akbar has given Marie some Star Wars movies so she can take a break from all of her work all the time. So these two people are now independently better off as people, and the whole system, all of society, is happier and wealthier at the end of the day than they were beforehand, without anybody having created anything new. No new materials were brought into this system, no new resources were extracted. All that happened here was that two people traded what they had already, and everybody ended up better off. Now, in the long run, things get even better, because these two individuals can develop a relationship that means that they're going to be even happier down the line. So for example, if Marie finds out about Admiral Akbar's ships, and she can give him specifically her science textbooks that are about propulsion and about space travel, then together these two can build spaceships. When they lived in their isolated systems all by themselves, that was not possible. All they had was what they had, and there was no going forward. But by engaging with one another, they can create new things and be better off without ever having access to more materials. This is gains from trade. Now, the exact opposite of this is extraction. So here, Marie has taken some of Admiral Akbar's books and movies without giving anything in return. This is not a better system than when they were alone. Nobody can be said particularly, the whole of society can't be said to be particularly better off. Marie is certainly better off, but Akbar is worse off. So on a whole, nobody can be said to be better off, and society can't be said to be better off. This is also not a sustainable system. And in the long run, we're not going to see that space station built because these two people aren't friends. These two people aren't getting along and sharing their expertise. So I think that there's an extremely important implication of this, and maybe my economics lecture is not doing it for all of you, but this axiom, this gains from trade axiom, is an extremely important part of all of our lives, and I think it's particularly important in the realm of knowledge acquisition. And I know all of you guys, I think, are high schoolers, and maybe you guys are about to go to college, or maybe college is on your mind for the next couple of years. I'm on the other end of that. I just graduated college, so I just want to kind of share a little insight into how I approached academics and intellectualism writ large, for which this axiom for me is extremely important. So gains from trade, what does it mean academically speaking? Academically speaking, it means that we can be better and be more knowledgeable and create more interesting things when we engage with one another and engage with the world and look outside of our immediate resource endowment and find other interesting things in other people that we didn't even know existed before. How do we do this? There's a lot of different ways. It could involve just reaching out to other people in different academic fields who have different preferences from you and finding out about things that you didn't know were there before that could potentially help you. Or it could mean geographically changing your place in the world and engaging in new languages and new cultures, etc. So the other thing I want to talk to you guys about today is my experience studying abroad, which is what really crystallized this kind of gains from trade in academia experience for me. So I studied abroad, as Noah mentioned, in Amman, Jordan, which is, those guys who need a refresher, that is located right here, in the middle of one of the least diverse and most boring places in the world. Don't worry about it. No, it's not that. It's an incredibly diverse place, it's extremely interesting, and it's definitely very different from anything that I'd experienced living in America most of my life. So living in Jordan, I worked at a Palestinian company, and I learned a lot about the region, about how economics works in the region, about running a business in Palestine, all of which I would never have had access to if I had stayed in the United States. In exchange, what I brought to this Palestinian company was an understanding of advanced marketing tactics and advertising. So I brought that, I learned a lot, and created a mutually beneficial relationship between me and my employer, where we both had access to a different realm of expertise, and we created a whole ad campaign that was different than anything that anybody at this company had ever seen before, because we came from such different places, and we were willing to reach outside of our usual boundaries and find people who were working on similar projects. But beyond just work, studying abroad for me was an extremely important part of broadening my perspective writ large and wildly changed how I understand myself and the world around me, and has greatly informed my academic pursuits. And I hope that you guys can have a similar experience with your engagement with other people in the world. So Amman, Jordan, and Jordan writ large, an incredibly diverse place. It's full of so many things that you couldn't even think of off the top of your head, things that you've never heard of before. While I was there, I cooked with flavors that I had never tasted. I wrote music using scales that I'd never heard before. And when I came back to the United States, those things didn't go away. I still use those flavors and I still hear those notes. And when I listen to music that's American or eat food that's American, those different experiences inform my understanding of what I engage with today. This incredible diversity of things that I'd never heard of before, never seen before, changed my understanding of the things that I already had. If possible, even more interesting than the things in Jordan was the people in Jordan. An incredibly diverse group of people from all over the political spectrum, from all over the world. Jordan is very much a crossroads of Asia and Africa and Europe, so there's a lot going on there. And the people, incredibly diverse group of people, incredibly politically active group of people. And one of the things that I got out of my experience that was extremely important for me was the perspective of other people on their own situations. So like people have talked about before, finding out different perspectives about different issues can wildly change your understanding of what's going on. Listen to a Syrian talk about American foreign policy, and you'll appreciate the extent to which it's true that there are no simple solutions for the Middle East. Listen to a hijabi woman talk about gender roles, and realize that it's not as easy as treating everybody equal when we are in fact different. Talk to people like this, it changes your understanding forever. You can never go back to being like Marie and Akbar in the beginning, your isolated little sphere where all you can do is have the things that you have now. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about in conclusion here is the time that I spent in the nature in Jordan. I spent a lot of time in the desert, walking around, hiking, camping, things like that, which was just really fabulous. I highly recommend it in general, but it was also very existentially compelling for me, and it changed a lot of my perspective on the world. So while I was in Jordan, I spent a lot of time in the nature and engaging with the landscape and with the geography of Jordan. I saw weird and wild landscapes that looked like something out of sci-fi. Totally changed my understanding of how light and formations work together. Things like the massive rock sculptures changed my understanding of landscapes, changed my understanding of art and architecture, created new meaning for me between light and shape that I can take back and use in art projects today, that I can use to inform my understanding of architecture now. It was absolutely incredible. So I would tell you, in your future endeavors, when you're looking to go to university or into whatever kind of job you want to go into at this point, don't be content to be an intellectual tourist. Don't take your photos, don't take your degree, and take them for yourself and just stay where you are. Climb up on top of the ruins that you see. Engage with everything. Put yourself into everything that you do, and give back to the person who's giving you the information that you need. Create those relationships and always be digging deeper. When you have your history class, don't just take the notes. Climb over the ruins themselves. Climb to the top of the mountains of every academic peak that you can think of, and stand there and look at the view and let it change you. And let these perspectives change you, even as you create them. And I think that that is a far better way to engage in your academic experience than the allegorical extractionary academic experience, where you would just take enough information that you can get the job that you want, so that you can get the income security that you want, etc., and just kind of live your quiet little life. I think it's a fabulous adventure that you can take into your academia, and I highly recommend that you do so. The other thing that I will leave you with is always be trying to change your perspective. Always be trying to put yourself into somebody else's shoes. With every person that you meet and every different perspective that you hear, try and get a look of that world through somebody else's eyes. So in conclusion, what I would leave you guys with is something that other speakers have mentioned so far, and something that I think is crucially important, which is that the future of our world, the future of the human race, is in engagement. It's in exchange. Globalization, like Olivia talked about, and empathy, like Matt talked about. So the future of our world, it's in this kind of engagement. The future of our world is in empathy and understanding. And ladies and gentlemen, we are the future. Thank you, guys.